I have the LinkedIn link on my other screen, so I just want to be sure that we are live there too. 1 second. Yep, pre-live. Yeah. It's going and stream. Okay, 20 seconds. Just wait until we can see it. There you go. We're live.
We're live.
Oh, we got the effects there also here.
How'd that happen? You go
I don't
live and
know.
you're like in space.
Just have to do a double thumbs up.
Oh, I'm just live in my New York City home, my ordinary life. You are like gliding through space, Pepe. I envy you.
Yeah, I just went for rockets. It's like the new SpaceX in Mexico, you know?
Oh, yeah. Cool. Jealous.
So, Jen, this is going to be a really good one. This is our first time. I mean, we've done some live recordings, but then we edit it and then we put it on the podcast. But this is going to be our first one. It's going to be a webinar. So it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Finally, I'm on Contract Heroes. I've only listened to you guys for a few years now, and I've only ignored like your first 3 requests, but not because I don't love you. I'm so busy. I can't get to them all, but time has brought us together now. What should we talk about?
So there's a lot of things that we can talk about. I mean, legal ops is one of the main topic as always, like always. And I think all the planets are aligning because I was just listening to your last episode on the CLOC Talks podcast, where you were talking with Caroline Hale, and you were talking a lot about the adoption and education of people, about not just tools, because there's a very, common confusion that whenever people think about legal ops, they only think about technology. And that's a big mistake.
Like, implement a tech tool, I'm done by. It's like, no, the journey starts now.
Exactly. So there's a lot of things that we gotta go here. And for the people that still don't know Jen, she's the CLOC Board Member, host of the CLOC Tech podcast, and director of legal ops and tech at Netflix. So with that said, let's kick off with our conversation, Jen. I mean, you've been part of different companies, technology companies. I mean, I can imagine, like, especially like companies like, Spotify and Netflix. I mean, these companies should go like super fast with everything. And, like legal ops adoption, if you want to say it like that, or education might be a little bit complicated, especially when you're working with the old school lawyers. So like, in your experience, like how does that works? And like, can you talk us a little bit about your background too?
Yeah, it works. We sometimes at Netflix, a few of us joke, me and the engineers joke, that the way is ready, fire, aim. Not ready, aim, fire. Ready, fire, aim. So places like Netflix and Spotify are moving so fast and it's so info dense that you don't even know up from down when you're getting used to that when you first join. And you just have to start making stuff or building stuff and or teaching. If you're launching a tech tool, which a lot of us are in legal ops and legal tech, you just have to like take your best guess and go live and then try to stitch the people to it. So it's extreme speed. And I just told someone earlier today that I'm at Netflix now 5 years. Like, what an amazing milestone to reflect on. And it might be 11 years of information and like training and learning and succeeding and failing and learning. And Spotify felt like that. I was there a year and a half and it felt like 4 years of work and information. And then Cisco, I was there before that for something like 5 years. Cisco moved a lot slower but had a lot more tech in place because they were first in the space in the 2000s, early 2010s with legal ops solutions that they built themselves because there was no big SaaS market like we know now. So in the slowness, I had a lot of space to create, and they let me be creative with training videos, which is a bit of our theme of discussion today. And yeah, before that, I was at a startup, half legal opsing, half touring as a musician. Before that, I was a musician touring for a living, which means I had 97 side jobs and 5 roommates. And there was a feral cat as a roommate, number 6. And like, it was just a time of youth and my creative career. And yeah. And so, I mean, I just kind of got into this work via temping because I don't wait tables as a musician. I'm not waiting tables. So I temped, and it kind of turned into hey, you're kind of good at tech. Like, you're a little bit more than an office manager. And they pulled me into legal, and they were like, just do the tech. And everything was SharePoint. And I was like, ring, 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 and like just fixing it all in very quickly. And they were like, you should work here. So I did. I just followed it. And that's 10 years. That whole like temp placement to now is the 10-year journey.
Wow. It's quite the 10 years.
It's been quite the 10 years. The industry, as we all are in it together, has come up in the exact time frame that I came up through that tunnel of opportunities. So it's like right place, right time. And I feel like I surfed the wave of learning in this industry. And now it's like a thing, I think we're all saying. Is that what we're saying now? 10 years ago, we were like, what do we call this?
Nobody knew. It was legal technology or legal innovation, and then it was ops.
Yeah. And ops encompasses even the tech piece now. It's like, cool.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the short story of it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of back there. Well, for the people that want to listen to a little bit of the CLOC Talk podcast, I just put the links on the LinkedIn comments so you can listen to it. There's there's a lot of episodes. I think you're like over 50 something episodes already.
Yeah,
one of the
50 plus.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's a lot of really great stories, and there's one that I was listening to it a couple of weeks ago with Steve Harmon when you were back on Cisco.
Yeah.
And it was great, right? Because you were talking about like how you started with this, how you were working with Steve.
Yeah.
I had the chance to talk with him at CLOC last May. He's amazing. And then you were talking about the videos, and that's how I thought about the idea, because with a lot of the innovation and technology and legal ops, people forget about, okay, we have everything, we got the best consulting, the best implementers, but once you go live, and you got to educate the people, because it's not just tools, it's new processes, right? It's new requirements. And I mean, myself, you told me it was a big mistake to send like, huge pages, especially for people with, it's just like, bored about reading contracts. And then if you send them like 15 pages manuals on how to use the system, they're just going to hate you. And videos, I thought about, that's the best idea.
Yeah. And like, if you send them an FAQ, they're just going to come ask you that live. I learned that at Cisco because I was the knowledge management program manager. And so I owned all the knowledge products. I owned all the websites, the intranets, the portals that we had, all the FAQs, links to tools, everything. And I inherited that project from someone else. And I looked, it was 2,000 web pages.
Wow.
And I was like, RUFK, no one's going to read this stuff. Nobody's reading the FAQ. Just because you made a list of all the questions ever asked ever, you think a lawyer's going to sit there and control F their way through it? No. They're going to ping me because they know they can get a quick answer for me because I'm like on every platform ever, always. I have 5 chat windows up right now. I'm always on with when I want to be on. And I was challenged to cut through all the noise and create one training video as an alternative way to teach people versus slides or classroom training or FAQs or documentation. And so I started making videos there. But like, I did I tell you guys this, or I told Steve, or I wrote it in the post on LinkedIn recently when they told me I had to make a video. I was like resistant and mad. I was like, video, this is a corporate job. I'm taking a break from creativity. What do you mean a video? And they're like an instructional video. And they showed me my friend Todd's video on how to use a video camera and set up video cameras for your work meetings. And I was like, eye roll. But sometimes I'm just like a teenager girl forever. Like, I'm just like, I just eye roll because 15 forever. But I made the video, and the first one really did suck. I'm here to tell you guys it sucked. So I did not send you samples of the first video.
But you gotta learn from from those setbacks. I'm not gonna say fail, but just like setbacks, perhaps.
Yeah,
You learn from
if
them.
you want to. And like, this is the key. Like, this is why I like places right now, like Spotify and Netflix, because all you're doing is running into walls. And then your like face hurts. And you're like, what just happened? And the people that survive in these kinds of places and thrive are the ones who are like, well, they want to study the setback and the learning and the failure. So I watched my video back and I was like, this sucks so bad. I'm uncomfortable listening to myself. Why? And I stuck in it, and I can hear myself speak in a video and not hate that. I got trained in that in music, being in music studios. You get over how your voice sounds very quickly, and you learn how to use it as an instrument. With 9,000 vocal takes into a studio room where there's 12 people sitting and judging you, it's horrifying. And after the 8,000th take, you're like, I don't even care what they think. Did we get it? So it taught me to not judge the creative process so much. And the early drafts, you need those to get to others. And I looked at my first video and I was like, sound happy. I wrote this down for myself. I wrote, next time I record one of these, I do the voiceover, smile the whole time. I'm alone in a cubicle in my office at Cisco. I'm like, just sit there and be like, welcome to the Friday Minute. I'm Jenn McCarron versus welcome to the Friday Minute. I'm Jenn McCarron. And that's a huge difference in how people respond to what is coming their way in the video. People respond more to audio, you guys, than video. So like, make sure your tone was good, all of that, like just these things I've picked up along the way. Yeah. So, yeah. And then by the time I left Cisco, I made 50 plus videos, between 50 and 60. And I was in love with the process, so much so that I got recruited in Cisco to be a part of like a marketing video team.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Jenn, was there anything in between, right? The mountains of text that they were trying to send people to for to learn, and then the videos, was there anything in between there, or was that the jump and the light bulb went on, immediately with the team and said, hey, this isn't working. We're not getting user adoption this way. Let's try something else. And it was immediate, the jump to video.
Yeah. The in-between was your typical corporate stuff we see attached to all tools: a help guide, a help desk, documentation, FAQs,
yeah,
and classroom training. And or they called it like VOD training. And maybe they still call that. Like sometimes people will, on a recorded Zoom call, a recorded WebEx, a recorded Google Meet, you're presenting and you talk into your computer and record that. And it's like semi-classroom with your slides, voice on demand, video on demand. So there were a few of those, but the leap I took was absurd. It's absurd. And sometimes it's like, how did Cisco make the business case to keep me on making videos? And we would chop that up and try to make a business case. And I think maybe in the post I wrote, like, one of my videos had 100,000 views. That's a lot for a company, you guys.
Wow. It's a lot for everything, I would say.
Yeah. So and then if you do the legal ops math that we all do, that's 100,000. Say it's a 1-minute video on how to send something into the approval tool, because that's what it was. The company-wide approval tool. Need anything approved, you go to this engine that Steve Harmon and team built before TAP and before Checkbox, and they all existed. That team built one internally with engineers, company-wide. So say 70,000 times in 1 year, your 1-minute video saved them a half hour of figuring out what to do. I mean, do that math, you guys. These are real numbers in productivity, real numbers. I can't do the math because it's end of day in New York. Can you guys do the math? 70,000 people saved. Oh yeah, just say save them 30 minutes.
35,000 minutes? No.
70,000 times
hours.
0.5, that's 35,000 hours, right? And then if you divide that by the number of hours in a work year, 2,000, right? Legal ops
right.
math. That's 17 and a half days saved or something in searching and not finding. So we would just make these cases all the time and go, okay, we think it's working. Make the next video. And I kept going.
Well, that's an easy, tangible ROI,
Yeah.
right? To see that value. So are we going to show some of the videos? Because there's probably some folks out there that are scratching their heads. I think.
Yeah. Should I show one, or are you guys going to show one?
No, Jen, I think you should.
All right, let's see. Let's see if like all the sharing works.
That would be better. My videos are not as good.
Oh, and how I would decide to make a video is I would catch lawyers doing absurd things in spreadsheets. Like absurd. Like I caught someone sort filtering over like a 3-hour span what you can do in 3 seconds. And I was like, Linda, I can't believe this. Let me show you live in person. And her mind was blown when I showed her sort filter. And we started an Excel efficiency series for lawyers just to like tackle the most ridiculous things. And pivot tables were one of those things. Even all of us struggle with pivot tables. It's just like a logical set of steps that even I am like, okay, X, Y axis, right? You're making graphs. So I think I made, here's one. I'm going to share. I'm going to share the pivot table one when I find my share window again. Just bear with me. I work in tech. I'll figure this out. I promise. Downloads, pivot tables. Let's see if this works.
Yep.
All right, you see it? Cool. So you guys, the method.
Back to the Friday Minute.
Oh wait,
I'm Jennifer McCarron of Legal Technology.
There you go. I paused it.
Yeah, sorry. Let me back it up. This was made with PowerPoint, animating a PowerPoint, and recording my desktop. This is so lo-fi, but it kind of passes. And the influence and the inspiration as far as the animation is Schoolhouse Rocks. It's very 1970s, early 80s, educational cartoons, simple, basic, on a white background. I voice overed this. You'll recognize this because some of you listen to the podcast. But I didn't have this nice equipment then because I was paid a lot less. And we cobbled it together, and I video edited it together in something like Camtasia. This is 2 minutes. I might cut through if it gets really boring, and we put them out on Fridays, and they were called the Friday Minute. Okay, I'm going to hit play on this.
All right.
Solutions, here to talk about pivot tables in Microsoft Excel. We've shown you a few Excel tips in other videos, but pivot tables are the next level in Excel efficiency because they help you and your audience study data. This is important because, after all, Cisco runs on numbers. So
I love
as
this
a member
one.
of legal services, do you find yourself increasingly
It's still
using
running. You
Excel
guys
to
see it
manage
and hear
large
it?
amounts of data?
Yeah.
Cool.
Large data sets can be qualitative, quantitative, or both, and can result from a variety of places, such as data exports from Cisco tools like VAP, the Vovici survey tool, or maybe you're managing a legal analysis of a body of contracts. As you try to make sense of your data and present to your colleagues, managers, or customers, ever wonder how to
Those
get
are
from
the
data
people.
that looks like this to data that looks like this? The answer is the pivot table functionality in Microsoft Excel. A pivot table is a data summarization tool that can reveal data patterns and trends with the ability to automatically sort, count,
All my
total,
lists.
the
Listicle.
average of the data
I could have been a
sets in
YouTuber.
spreadsheet.
Listicles all day.
You set up the table structure by
You do
dragging
it, and now I
drop-down
actually
fields
build
graphically.
a pivot
Results
table.
are then displayed
So
in the second
always
table
go.
or the pivot
Don't
All
just
live.
tell.
No.
Yeah.
To create a pivot
Look at my
table,
clean
open
desktop.
and access the spreadsheet
Even in
containing the
2013.
source of data you'd like to work with. Let's look at this example of a VAP report showing all
I mean, this is
approved
hell.
VAPs in
This is
month
our
2
hell,
of
legal
Q1.
ops. I should just
Say you
write
want to
hell
know,
over
Of all the
this.
VAP approvers, what was the average time for approvers in engineering and legal to approve a VAP?
Sample report.
On the data ribbon, click the pivot
Data.
table button.
Click. And here I am
After
using
you've
highlight and
selected the data,
emphasis to
the
guide
pivot
their
table
eye.
builder will appear. Here, you can drag and drop the data fields you will need. Approver and days pending
I know.
action.
You guys should know this is my old band in the background playing.
Will then change
I was
sum
going to ask you that.
average in the
Yeah,
values
yeah.
box.
I just pulled my old music.
It's great.
Thank you.
Great.
And
Yeah.
finally, filter the data so we only see engineering and legal approvers.
Here we go. Done.
For more help on pivot tables, visit Microsoft's pivot table tutorial here. Thank you for watching.
All right.
That was my tagline at the end with this very scoopy way. I'd be like, thank you for watching. And I would really practice that in the mirror a lot. So it sounded, warm and thankful.
And what was the response the first couple of times that you sent these out or added these to the library for folks to check out?
The first few, because I was still finding good topics, were lukewarm or quiet, or I would just get like one email back from Melinda, like, that was fun. And then over time, people were obsessed. Like some of them still write on LinkedIn to me, like, your videos, dude. And I always wrote a really good joke in the video around a vignette. So that one was like straight up, look here about pivot tables. I'm taking you through a spreadsheet to rock music. Other ones, I set a scenario so that they can be they're the protagonists in the story. They're in the story. It's them. And imagine it's Friday and you have to get your contract signed. And I would always write a funny joke at the end. So there'd be like something for them of like humor after the value. And you hook people with humor. And so I started getting fans. And then Lisa started showing up to my meetings, a colleague named Lisa. And she's like, I'm not even here for the meeting. I just love hearing your voice. I'm like, not weird. Cool, Lisa. Hang out in the WebEx with us while we talk about something else. So people liked it. And Steve Harmon told me, I think around video 15, he said, hey, you're crushing it with these videos. People love them. Then they learn.
How quick was it able to see that users were using the systems better? Maybe there was better user adoption with the types of videos that you were putting out. I mean, was it almost immediate? Did that come with time?
That stuff's hard to say. That stuff's hard to measure because it's hard to measure. It's hard to measure the other side of it all. And it's hard to say, like what would you do? Would you look at batches of help tickets and go, well, they went down over a year because they're doing the training? Like, we thought about all of the ways to measure, and some of this becomes that intangible stuff that's difficult to do. But in terms of like the help, the support line of help, which was me and Farhad for a legal department of 500 to 1,000, we saw less requests. Like, anecdotally, you see less requests, and you put these links out in front of people, or you link them on the tool itself, and you do see that. But it's hard. You just kind of measure in help requests over time, which you guys know, they come in formally through a help desk when you're in IT, or they're just pinging you all the time.
Yeah.
So we saw that, but hard to really measure in like a super data-driven way.
And how did you come up with the topics?
Well, it was mostly where people sucked. Okay. I was like, oh, and I was like, oh,
you got a list?
Yeah, I had a list. I had a backlog, and I'm like, oh my God, like I saw several people really struggle with Excel and using it inefficiently. So that's what inspired that series. But then sometimes I would do them on big tech rollouts going out enterprise wide and be like, look, it's coming, whatever version of Windows, whatever video conferencing rollover we were doing. So it was like a IT tech whisper. And then when we were rolling out new products for legal, or users had an existing product like Blueprint, the legal entity management software, it's now called Diligent, okay? But it's Blueprint for life, everyone, legal ops. They came to me and said, people don't know how to use this tool. It's been up for a few years. Can you make a training? And we'll do a campaign around it, kind of a marketing, teaching, educational campaign. And we'll require everyone to watch the video and hit a box at the end in the learning management system. So my stuff started becoming learning management system worthy and making people like take the training and acknowledge you now know how to use Blueprint. And so that was more of an overview of a tool.
No, and I think that makes them more excited about adopting a new tool, because usually when it's like a big enterprise one, like, I mean, we do CLMs, and CLMs, it touches like a lot of part of the different processes. So you gotta get them like excited at the beginning, because we've seen like if you go during the implementation, but if you can spend 100,000 or a couple millions bucks for an implementation, but if nobody's using it, like if the adoption rates are low, it's just like you're just burning money.
Adoption's really an important metric to measure and drive and improve on over time. And what improves adoption? Exactly, Pepe. Teaching people the value of this, how to use it, and breaking it down to a quick, digestible morsel of like these 3 steps, these 4 things, and making sure you take these videos and either do campaigns with big email campaigns, pushing to people, and then you have to link them out places where people will find them again. And so we wound up linking them because we designed all of our own front ends at Cisco. So we could put all the links we wanted in a tool. Whereas like if you license an Ironclad, if you license Evisort as CLM software, they might not let you put a link on their tool because it's more their software. So we were very fortunate with that. And if you're SaaSing everything today, you have to find a place where people can get this stuff. And admittedly, my videos got more traction at Cisco than they did at Spotify and Netflix because of the nature of I'm more SaaS now and licensing stuff. I only have hundreds of views at Netflix. I'm mad and I'm sad.
So one of our earlier guests, Chris Kiatek, he works in the Deloitte's Poland team, and I really like one analogy that he does when talk about the adoption process is to building campaigns like movie premieres, right?
Yes,
you gotta make
speak to my
noise.
Language.
Yeah, there you go. So it's just like making noise, putting cartels everywhere. This is coming, and the rollout, it's going to start in 2 months. These are the benefits. So people are eager to start using it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, you guys want to hear a nice failure story with a video?
Yes.
With these videos, you have to make noise and go for the next level of like you're going for a little more flash, trying to use voice or music or both and visual to connect. And people can get caught up in trying to make a super pro video and forget to write a really good script or forget to have a really good CLM implementation plan rollout. And last year at Netflix, we were rolling out a phase of CLM. And we worked with the pros inside Netflix to make a hype video, they called it, a 1-minute hype video. And all I had to do with my teammate running this was scripting. And make sure you hit on the 1, the 2, the 3. And we had a pro and they like outsourced a pro animator. This hype video, it was a movie premiere. Okay. It was better than what you just saw. And the money that goes into that is is resourcing and cool. And then something happened with the first phase of the go live and we had to push it. We pushed it, I think a quarter or a few months. And I was like, what a fail. We overdid the hype video, but we missed some detail in some part of the implementation. And the team was like, we're not ready. And we had to push. And me and my colleague really took a lot of feedback for that from ourselves. Like, don't go too hot on the polish and not have the substance. And it's better to have a better launch with a video later than a video at launch with nothing to launch people.
Yeah.
Life hacks.
And how do you not configure, but prepare those kind of videos, especially for those big enterprise like the CLM? Like, do you put them like in short videos on the different processes, or how can people imagine that?
Yeah. So there's a misnomer where many of us think like we're all working corporate jobs, legal ops and tech people. We're not creatives for a living. So we're just like, I'm going to make a video and I'm going to show everything in the video. And what I learned very quickly also, I'm just like a TV kid. My parents put full cable in my room at 5. They thought that was making it. So I'm like, I sound like a 90s commercial. And I know short because I watched way too much TV as a kid. And I am obsessed with YouTube. Like, I'm devotional to YouTube. I pay for it. And sometimes I'm like, what would I do if I had to take YouTube or Netflix? Tune in at 11. But I knew at Cisco that 1 minute was the limit. And that means, okay, you could go up to 2 to get into a granular lesson. That's it. That's the short form. And even that video I just showed you was 2:19. And I was uncomfortable with how long it was because I've evolved so much. If I were re-editing that today with everything I've learned in 10 years, I would chop that so fast. And our attention spans got faster in 10 years with the TikTok of our brains and YouTube. So I would have chopped that down to 1:30 max and just like shaved. So you have to go as short as possible and be as concise as possible in videos, or you'll lose people. So I had short form 1 minute. I had medium form, which was 3 to 5. And I had long form, which was 5 to 8. And some of the lawyers would come to me and go, I want to do an antitrust training series, 6-part, 15-minute videos. And I was like, kill me first so that I'm dead. And you can't assign me that project. Sorry.
And do you have like any particular script, like, you know, the intro, then it goes something, or a plot twist?
Yeah. And
what have
like,
you seen?
That evolves over time. Like that evolves from just starting a script. I called it like a script storyboard format. Oh, I wish I had one of those to pull up. I'm going to see if I can search one on the side, but it's a table. It's a 3-column table on a Google Doc or a Word doc. And it's like what happens, or it's your text that you say. It's what happens in the slides. And it's any like extra note about this scene. It's a storyboard essentially with the scripting in there. And then you start to kind of piece that together. So you have to sit and write. And I think that's a pretty straight up like Hollywood or YouTube creation process for any kind of video or TV. I don't know. I never worked in TV, but my podcast producer has. Drea, text me if that's how it works in YouTube and TV. Yeah, it's pretty basic. And the better the writing, the better that video. Actually, you guys just saw like the writing was very good. The video and animation is very basic. Drea, my producer, says, yes, queen. That's how they do it in TV. So you can Google like script storyboard format and see like, or just start a 3-column table. And if you don't know how to do that, I'll make you a video. Just kidding. Now I just say, let me Google that for you because everything is on YouTube these days.
I thought you were going to say you followed the Taco Bell Chihuahua commercial script. So
I mean, you can. If people learn that way, you can take any commercial and reverse engineer it and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Those are very classic presentation storytelling styles. Mm-hmm. And it's all out there on the internet and in the literature. If you need that as structure, I think I have so much of it in my head because you guys, I have so much TV time. I would just put the TV on in my room. I can recite commercials and jingles from the 90s. It's disturbing. I think I have brain damage, but it's fun. It's a fun party trick to do Sally Struthers' International Correspondence School list. So I have a format. I can hear it and I write to it. But you can Google all of this for sure. You can get a sample. Ask generative AI.
Yeah.
Give me copy for a commercial, for a 1-minute ad for a product. Gen AI it. You don't even need you don't need to bludgeon your brain anymore with TV like I did.
So would that be, you know, if there's anybody out there listening and they say, hey, you know what, there's some challenges we're facing when it comes to pieces of technology, and I think we should start making some short form videos on this. I mean, obviously the first thing you need to do is probably identify those pain points, and those are the videos that you want to make. But
yeah,
is that the next step? Is the next step to put together a script?
Yeah, and like true project management, like what's the problem you have to solve? What's the information gap? That's what I always would say in knowledge management. What's the information gap here? And what's the best medium to solve this? And I would challenge people sometimes who wanted videos on stuff that is not right for video. So one lawyer got creative, I'm air quoting, because they don't teach creativity in law school. Shots fired. But she was my friend. So she comes to me and she's like, I love your videos. I want to collaborate with you on one. I'm like, let me hear the pitch. And she goes, you are going to animate the org chart because nobody knows how to keep up with the org chart. But if you're narrating it and you're funny and it's cute little people characters, which I'll show you in another video, they'll learn it. And I'm like, the org chart changes every week in corporate America. No. And she fought me on it. And my boss helped stand up for me. My manager was like, only video evergreen things. That's a different kind of training. And it's like, learn it on your own. It's an org chart. I'm not here to teach you the org chart. I didn't say that. I'm much more confident now, 10 years later in work. Oh, let me show you guys this. I have a storyboard here. This is actually a really good one.
Yeah,
Share screen. So let's see. At Netflix, they asked me and the team to do a "What do we do here?" presentation live or any format. It's a full hour. Teach the legal department what you do. And so I did like a legal ops knowledge management one. It was live slides, but we wanted to do a video opener. And this was during COVID where you had to like spice up your meetings, and we were all competing at Netflix. Who can do the cooler video? Who can do the best "What do we do here" opening? And I'm so competitive. So here's like the background, and me and this other presenter are getting aligned, goal of video, context. This is very classic PM stuff. Presentation details. And look at this, 2 columns, video edit. It's cartoon animated. Blue is to be drawn. Oh, because this one I was so, we all went dark in COVID. I was like, I'm going to animate this myself, not use these characters I used in that other slide deck. I'm going to draw us. COVID was so difficult. I mean, how did we get through that? I don't know. So I'm like, I'm going to draw this. I had to this is a little more technical, you guys, but here we are, fade into, and then Jenna and I sat here and wrote up this dialogue. I envisioned us having an intro convo as cartoon characters. And that's me, and that's Jenna. And those are my hand drawings of each of us. And this drawing of me, I took off a street sign in New York City. That's someone's street art that I thought looked like me. And I just took a picture with my phone. And then I modified it to look like me and put on like one of my shirts. This is me. What are we doing? And she's like, hey, Jen, why are we next to each other? It's COVID. Put us in a Zoom or something. And then I drew us into a Zoom, cut to a Zoom. We're talking, we're having a dialogue. What do you want to do in this presentation? How should we wow them? People are getting really good at these fun, kitschy openers. And so this is literal storyboarding, then cut to the music team did this like killer rendition of the Witcher theme song in a conference room a few months prior. I was like, what? Competitive. Cut to the next one. The IP team did a Brady Bunch video. Someone's husband worked in VFX. Netflix is insane sometimes. It's so fun and ridiculous. They did a fun video. And I'm like, what are we going to do? And the funny gag was her and I were former musicians as a career, but we're in a cartoon going, what are we going to do? Should we sing a song? And then she fake sings a song, and then we cut out. And we're like, nah, let's just do Google Slides. And people's minds were blown, and we had them eating out of our hand for 45 more minutes. So here it is, 2 columns, but all written in. There's my slide that we cut to. It was pretty fun.
It looks like, you need to be really creative for that. I can't imagine myself doing that, but
yeah, so this is like hazardous. This was hazardous level ambition. So I started drawing it all, and I don't draw every day anymore. I'm not 9 in my childhood bedroom watching 90s TV. So I started drawing, and 6 days in, and like no sleep, my eyes started twitching, and I was like, crap, I can't do this. I'm not an animator. I just do little goofy doodles. And so like any good legal ops person, where you can't, you should outsource to the Elevate equivalent of, do you have a friend that can animate? I found someone, and he took me over the finish line. But really, and I thanked him so much for letting me pay him nothing and get this great video over the finish line. And I said, how'd you do that on like no money and no nothing? And he said to me, really good writing in the script and basic storyboarding. He's like, you give that to people, they can do it. So not to say go hire animators. I don't think you should. That's too much polish. I was intentionally trying to show off. The other thing I showed you guys, that format, PowerPoint, screen recording, speaking into a onboard mic or a USB mic. That's pretty cheap. Even speaking to your
it works.
slides is cheap.
No, but that works. I mean, I think, yeah, of course you need people that are designers to do stuff. It's like what Mark and I do for like to promoting the podcast.
Sure.
It's like there's no way we can do that.
You guys have a great logo. It's very comic strip.
Oh, thank you. I mean, that was a designer. We had no idea.
Yeah.
We just like just
yeah. So
gave them.
like sometimes in life you have to go get a designer, and like I had to win this mini meaningless meaningful competition at Netflix because we were all bored and inside. I had to win. Okay, you guys, I had to win and have the funniest 2-minute flashy intro video. But I had that eye twitch for 6 months. And I really second guessed myself if that was all worth it. And it was a one in time, and that wasn't scalable. So the videos I did at Cisco, they scaled on no budget. And let me tell you guys, and I can show you another clip of how I scaled the video once I did a blueprint video again at Netflix. We went to a Netflix internal production. Many companies have like an internal production in marketing. And I'm like, what would it cost to make this short form 3-minute video on a tool? And they scoped it out with me and they said $10,000 a minute is the cost for a minute. That's the cost for custom instructional design that is like animated shapes, text, like beautiful. 10,000 a minute is what that costs. And that's what I would try to tell Cisco leadership. Like, I just saved you $29K. I did this for like $500. But yeah, that's what it costs. And no legal department should pay for that ever. That is not, that's like killing a fly with a cannon. So with all of this is not a podcast to tell everyone in legal ops, go out and try to start animating and pitching your leadership for this stuff. Because if you go to the pro level, it's $10,000 a minute and no one would sign that. But could you do it with PowerPoint recording? Now, that was 10 years ago. Can I show you guys what they do now? There's all these pre-built character animation library SaaS solutions like Vyond. Have you heard of Vyond?
Yeah. I knew they were out there, but I haven't heard of any of the specific names.
So it's like $20 a month. It's PowerPoint mixed with, it's like Google Slides mixed with Adobe, the one that does animation, that Premiere.
Yeah.
In the cloud for dummies, $20 a month. It's like what all the people are graphic designing and now in the cloud. It's like a Canva. It's like that for instructional design. Pre-built character sets. Ready? So I did, I'm going to share this screen. I did this in Vyond. It was for Blueprint. I did a Blueprint video at Cisco. That was 3 minutes. So I already had the format of a script on how to teach someone legal entity management. So I remembered that and wrote the script and storyboard from there. We used Vyond, and with very little budget, like way under 5K, like very little budget that makes this stuff worth it. I hired someone who's a Vyond expert. They're out there. They're on Fiverr. And I managed them to creating this with my really tight script and visualization. So this is Blueprint. This is the scenario. I'm going to hit play. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
I'm just going to do like a minute of it.
Welcome to the Calabasas University video training series, where the legal operations and technology team teaches you about our new solutions. Today, we're partnering with Corporate Legal to talk about Blueprint, our new corporate legal entity management solution. First, let's start with this scenario. It's nearing the end of the day on Friday, the day before your scheduled vacation begins. You suddenly realize that career-changing deal you're closing on needs a Netflix signatory from one of our entities in Mexico, and you don't know who inside Netflix should sign.
Real problem.
Enter Blueprint, Netflix's corporate legal entity management solution. In this video, you'll learn what Blueprint is, how to access it, and how to find what you need. So, what is Blueprint? Blueprint is a third-party solution that houses all corporate legal entity-related information and supporting documents for all our corporate legal.
All right, I'm muting the audio. So I take them through just visuals with narration and how to use it and come in and answer all these questions, learning scenario, where to find Blueprint. I mean, how to find what you need. I go through that agenda, right? It's very PowerPointy. So she's still freaking out. You got to check back in on your main character. Now she's in finding the corporate documents in Blueprint. And here's one outstanding use case that gets asked a lot. My corporate, hang on, let me pause this. My corporate legal paralegal wanted all the edge cases in the video, and I had to keep saying, you're making it too long. So we landed on, your basic use cases and some edge cases. And so this is her trying to get in some of those last things. And then let me just hit play, but no audio. So she's still like cranking through scenarios. Here's one last scenario, highlights for emphasis. Here's the PDF. And we're moving through an agenda. We get to the end, and I just got to show you guys the ending. And let me turn this audio back up. Audio.
Updated in real time. However, because we are in a culture of constant change, so are our entities and signatories. If you see any discrepancies in the data, please notify us immediately.
Hit us up if this sucks.
And if you have any questions, comments, or even special requests, let us know. Up-to-date entity information makes doing business even faster, which means more shows and joy for you and all our members. Thank you for watching.
And I work at Netflix, so I got to put that on the end. Which is, I'm very blessed in that sense, but it's internal. It's not for commercial use. So I'm allowed to do that, but I would never go external with those. Nobody's watching, right?
We got a few people here.
Yeah, a couple people. But yeah, so that's an example of beyond $20 a month. Oh my God. People are calling me. Sorry if it's ringing. And that's Tiffany. And she works at one of my SaaS solutions and contracts. And she's an artist and a creative and studied voiceover. She's a voiceover actor in real life who does product management. And we know this about one another. And I said, hey, can Netflix hire her kind of separately to just do this one-off video? Because she's a Beyond expert. And I learned that. And so she voiced it over too. So cool for me. I get to like step out and bring in other people's talent and creativity. And that was very inexpensive.
No, I think obviously there's a big level right there between the first videos you showed us and the later ones. But at the end of the day, they all have the same meaning. And I think they still get the same point across, which is a visual aid to help people to learn. And, I think it's something that we definitely haven't taken advantage of enough. So thank you for turning those gears in my head.
Will you guys hire, like, what do you guys think when you see this? Because it's not hard to do, but it's not simple. It's
engaging. It's engaging. You need something like that, because even if you give users very detailed manuals on how to do it, they never read it. And then it's just like, hey, I cannot send my documents. I cannot find my contracts. And it's like, have you followed the steps that we put in the contract? And they never read it. So you got to like continue doing it. So you got to find a way on how to, we're used that everything just goes like really fast, right? So if you're Googling something, when you go to a blog post or to a website, like how much time do you spend there? Like a couple seconds, and then you just move to the next one, right? And videos are way more engaging, and podcasts too. That's what I like, because you can do like passive. You can be cooking while listening to the podcast, but videos, especially training videos, you gotta see them. And if you find a way how to engage them and to see the full video, that's gonna be a game changer, especially for the education and adoption.
Yeah, and it's just like a bit of volume and or YouTube formula. You just have to make them. If you guys want to get into this, you just have to have someone or you start and be committed to sucking. and committed to doing the next one and the next one and trying to lift it up. I mean, that
Right.
pivot table one I showed you guys, I think I said it was video 15. It was effective. It taught, and it sounded like me, and I sounded like reasonably happy compared to video 1. Now that's a voiceover actor. And now when I do videos, I mean, I'm podcasting more too. So I know how to sound like a woman not in peril. Even if I'm in peril. Like when I did the London podcast, don't tell anybody, anyone listening. I was so jet lagged, and then I forgot to eat. And I didn't have a producer there just pointing everyone podcast wise, and I was in peril. But then I would sit down with Caroline Hall and be like, hey, and just like, and turn the switch on. And that comes through practice with feeling like crap, but having to get these jobs done. So,
yeah, we've been like that. I mean, doing podcast hangover, it's really hard.
are you? Do you guys have one right now? Are you hungover?
No, but we were.
You were. Where does the hangover? Am I headed for one? What's hangover formula? Too much podcasting?
Too much partying sometimes, but it's always good to see people in the events. But
No,
Yeah.
just back to back during one day is
it's
you get
crazy.
you lose your edge by the 5th one. So
Yeah. Like, and how do you fuel yourself and your brain and your focus to like not, even though you're flatlined? I was flatlined by the end of CLOC Vegas and London, and I don't even know what I said. And I had to do my intro for someone recently, and I said to Drea, can you tell me what we said on the podcast? Blackout podcast. I remember Bernadette's wonderful face and her effervescence, but what did we talk about? And Drea said, here's 5 things to remind you. And then it kind of came back, but this stuff's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. So we're running out of time. I mean, we can keep like talking for hours for
I
this.
can talk to you guys forever, but how do we close?
I got one last question for you, and especially because we've seen this at CLOC. We were this week at the World Commerce and Contracting event, and there's a lot of hype in generative AI.
Oh yeah.
So I was thinking about not just for the designing, and they're like these apps that they can do commercial videos by just like prompting them. I mean, that's gonna save a lot of time too and money. But I was thinking about like those 2,000 pages manuals and FAQs. Now with generative AI, is like you can feed the platform and then just ask questions.
Those days are over. Yeah, you can feed any kind of bot with all of that, and then we could all roll up to bots now more universally and go, how do I use Blueprint? And the bot can come back with, oh, here's a starting guide. If you're more of a video person, here's your starting video, and here's your point of contact if you just need to call someone like a Jen, like a me. I'll sit on the phone with anyone and tell them how to do tech. Like, I was in the elevator today in New York City, and the buttons were being weird. And I was like, everyone step aside. I work in tech. And I just started pushing buttons, and I don't need. Some people need a human touch, but generative AI can parse all of that. Generative AI cannot make a video, and it cannot make a TV show. It cannot write that joke. It can't put that intangible human element of creativity behind anything we do in video making, in what lawyers do. There's an element of business strategy, risk prevention, creativeness. It can't do that, but it can give them a first draft of their contract faster than them searching 5 systems. Generative AI can give me a background on that art. If I were hand drawing all of this again, generative AI can do my background in a Matt Boeing style, any cartoonist style. But the foreground, that script I showed you, okay, it could give me a first draft, but it's not going to make it sizzle. So that's my thought on all of that. It's going to relieve the annals of crap like you're talking about. But we still need creativity over the top of all of this to make this stuff sing.
Yep. Well, Jens, it's been a great podcast episode. First time we're doing this webinar. It's really fun to have you on the podcast.
This was amazing. What a brilliant idea you two had. I never played videos on a podcast with a webinar with a LinkedIn component, and I've never shown these videos to anyone outside of Cisco or Spotify or Netflix. So thank you for bringing an audience and being so curious. You've inspired me. Sharing really teaches me a lot. So it's very important to me. Thank Thank you.
No, thank you, Jen. We really appreciate it, and we hope we inspired some other folks out there to give this a shot. I know you definitely have inspired me. So I think before I go to bed tonight, I'm going to figure out how we can utilize this when it comes to our customers.
Yeah, well, call me if you want any advice.
Sounds good.
I'll tell you what to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, thanks
guys. So
everybody
thanks
for
a lot.
listening.
Thank you, everyone. Take care out there, Legal Ops.
All right. Bye, everyone.
All right.